everybody. Welcome to the Houston Easton Chamber of Commerce Construction and Government Contracting Workshop Series. We're very honored to have our great sponsors and our great speakers to educate you on how you can get construction and government contracting. Today is our first discussion of a 4-part series, and it will end with a panel discussion on June 17th. And organizations like this, you'll be able to become certified. You'll be able to bid on projects. So those are the kind of people that you're going to meet at the panel discussion. But right now would not be possible without our sponsors. And we're grateful to our title sponsor, Cadence Bank. Today we have David Vasquez, Community Development Officer, who will give some opening remarks, and then he'll introduce another coworker of his to give some additional information. Thank you so much, David.
Absolutely, guys. I want to thank East End Chamber for having Cadence Bank be a part of this. This is a huge event for the community as we celebrate the Small Business Week East End Chamber has brought to us to partner with them with the 2021 Construction and Government Contracting Workshop Series. So we are glad to be a part of it. I have with me today Solomon Salceda, and he's going to be able to help explain some of the products and services that we have, and some of the questions that you guys are going to jot down. And towards the end of the meeting, we'll be able to hopefully answer some of those questions. So my name is David Vasquez. I'm with Cadence Bank. I'm the Community Development Officer. It is my job to make sure that all of our products and services are in the community, that we get those not only products and services, but some information, knowledge, workshops like this, that we partner with great organizations like East End Chamber, and we are able to share all of our resources with you guys. We're just happy to be a part of this. Thank you, guys. Thank you, East End Chamber.
I guess that's when I'll jump in. Hey guys, my name is Solomon Salceda, Small Business Relationship Manager at Cadence Bank. Big thank you to the East End Chamber for the opportunity to be part of this 4-series seminar. I'm very excited to be here today and give a little bit of information to small businesses in our communities. The intention of today's information from Cadence Bank, it is kind of to get you guys ready for what is coming down. Houston is open. Everything is staying behind as far as the pandemic. And I want all the business owners on this Zoom call and this seminars to be ready for what is coming our way. Many businesses are getting doors open, fully open. Many contractors that continue growing. Many of the industries in Houston, they need money. And what a great opportunity today to talk about be ready and have your business bankable and ready to go. So one of the things that I'm going to discuss, or I'm going to talk about today, is having your finances ready. Many business owners throughout the years, I've been in the banking industry for about 19 years. And one of the things that I face every single day, business owners not being ready for when they need money from a bank or from a financial institution. So the things that you always need to have ready when you're going to go and visit your business banker or a bank in your communities or a local bank, always make sure that you have the following financials ready so you can start discussing your lending needs for your business and obviously operating services. But you're always going to have, they're always going to require 2 years of business tax returns, personal and business. They're going to ask you for a personal financial statement. They're going to ask you what's the purpose of the line of credit or loan that you're about to require from the bank. From time to time, the business owner says working capital. Well, working capital is not just what we wanted to hear. We truly, as business bankers, we want to know how this either business line of credit or loan is going to help you and your business. Is this line of credit or this loan that you're going to acquire from the bank is going to help your business? Are you going to hire individuals? Is this to use in between account receivables for payroll? Is this for equipment, for heavy equipment or for office equipment? Is it going to help you to hire individuals? So always when you're asking for specifically a line of credit, when you mention it as for working capital, articulate, give some specifics on how this loan or how this money from a bank is going to help you out, is going to help your business grow. So keep in mind, again, two years of personal and business tax returns, personal financial statement, what's the purpose of the loan, and from time to time, banks are going to ask you for year-to-date financials, P&L and balance sheet. Have those documents available, because that's what is the minimum banks are going to ask for when it comes to business lending. One of the things that Cadence Bank does offer, we call it a quick decision loan. The quick decision loan, if you're needing a quick money between $5,000 and $25,000, the bank is not going to ask you for full financials. The intention of this quick decision loan that Cadence put together was back when the city was hit hard with Harvey storm. All you're going to need is 1 year of business and personal tax returns, personal financial statement, and that's it. We typically have an answer for a quick decision loan between 24 and 48 hours. This is something quick that you probably are needing for your business. And if Cadence Bank can be a fit for what you're looking for when it comes to lending, please give us a call. Somewhere on the screen, they're going to put our information. But if you have any questions regarding lending, do not hesitate to reach out to Cadence Bank. We will be more than happy to help you out.
Thank you, Solomon.
With that, I turn it back over to you guys. Thank you for the time.
Thank you again, Solomon and David. It's partners like yourself that help us grow, and especially when we're getting back to in-person meetings. Next one, hopefully next year, we're going to have this in person. But thank you both very much. And we're going to add that to the chat room. So for anybody that wants to download that they can do that. Now we have a gold sponsor, Benefit You. Today we want to hear from Mike Andretti. He's a benefits advisor and healthcare warrior. So he's going to say a few words. Hello there, Mike.
Francis, thank you so much. And like the banking folks, I would just like to say thank you so much for the opportunity to sponsor this event. Now, what I've done is said, okay, with this seminar that we're having, the next 4 series, really what is in your toolbox? Well, the agenda said we're going to talk about 4 things. How do you identify and research opportunities? How do you prepare to work with the government? What does your support team look like? And then what mistakes and pitfalls do you need to avoid? Well, where I fall into this picture is my job and our company's job is to help you with each one of these things in terms of how you partner with your employees to effectively execute a contract. Most employers that work in this space will have some type of relationship with employees, and the cost that you pay for benefits tend to be your second or third most expensive item. Of that, what's most expensive? It's actually healthcare. The Society of Human Resources published a survey in 2020 to show that the average employer pays a little bit over $10,000 per employee per year for just healthcare expenses. Now, most employers, they manage to a budget or a bottom line, and they simply either pass cost on to employees via higher cost for their contributions or plan design. So if you do that for the next 5 years, you're looking at a per employee cost of around $14,000. So when it comes to having your team in place and having an executable strategy, this is where we come into play. And that depending on what size of a business that you are, the landscape has changed and will continue to change. If you're a small business, don't just think that you can only go to Blue Cross, United, Cigna, and Aetna and come back with some viable options for your employees. The landscape has changed tremendously. And as you grow as a business, those strategies might change to where now, rather than having fully insured, you can use community options to reinvest not only in your employees, but also in the communities that you serve. And as you get larger, it opens up even more opportunities. So what I would say is that we at Benefit You are really blessed to be a part of the East End Chamber of Commerce. And if you'd like to get in touch with any one of us to talk about how do you execute that plan, and as you're thinking about the next government contract, if that's going to involve adding more people, if that's going to involve how do you improve the benefits that may be in line with a certain federal standard, get in touch with us. The easiest way to do that is to go to the East End Chamber website, look at affinity programs, and there'll be a link directly to us. Francis, thank you, and I'm returning control back to you.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate our sponsors. And if you want to be a sponsor of our next webinar, please make sure that you either contact myself or go to that same page that Mike was talking about, and they'll give you some more information. But at the Chamber, our mission is to connect businesses to promote economic expansion and investment in the East End. And we are so proud to connect with Julie Irvine and Susan Rupka, experts in helping you with construction and government contracting. We've put together 4 series. These are the 4 that you're going to be today. We're talking about capacity building. On June 3rd, we're going to talk about maximizing your certification, subcontracting packages. And then we're going to have that panel discussion that we talked about. So I see those beautiful faces over there. I want to turn it straight over to them so they can start getting the education going. Thank you very much, Julie, and thank you very much, Susan.
Everybody, we're so excited to have so many people here and join us for your lunch hour. And another shout out to our sponsors of Cadence Bank and Benefit You.
So today is about inspiration. As you move into the government contracting world, we want to inspire you to start getting your house in order, getting your financials, getting your bonding, and we'll go over all of these pillars to your house. So get ready and let's have some fun today. So our session is about preparing your company for government contracting. It's the first step. It's sort of setting that foundation. I mean, we're building a house. It's putting your network together that you're going to need as you start growing your company through government contracting. And it's some of the mistakes that's going to cost you the contract. This is not going to cover everything that you need. We have 90 minutes. We talk fast, but not that fast. And of course, our normal disclaimer, this is no guarantee that you'll receive a government contract. So what can you expect from us? We're going to have some fun. We want this to be an engaging session. When one of us is in front of the camera, the other one is managing the chat. And we'll switch off throughout the 90 minutes. You're going to get some tools for implementation. We're going to have plenty of time for questions. We're going to ask you questions. We're going to ask us questions. We want you to listen and participate. After today, we want you to kind of test drive some of these ideas, provide us your feedback. There's going to be a survey. There's always a survey. And then share and celebrate your success with us. Now, I need everyone to grab either paper and pen or open up a Word document. When I talk about engaging session, we're going to be dropping some links in the chat. We're going to be sending you to all different places to look for opportunities. So you need to capture that either on Word or write it out, but you're going to need those links for later on. So our buckets, financial statements, that is your foundation, your risk management, marketing and research, and your path forward, your next steps. So start making some buckets for your action plan. We're going to go to next week. This week is over. Next week, the next couple of months, third quarter, quarter 4, how are you going to make this happen this year?
And I'm going to introduce Susan. We're a tag team, and she's one of my favorite people on the entire planet. And she has spent her entire career growing and advancing small businesses. This year, she's been married to John for over 30 years. They live in Hempstead with 4 dogs and 30 chickens. When she's not doing seminars and helping with certification and helping companies with their proposals, her 7 grandkids keep them super busy with baseball games, fishing, art projects, and lots of pancake breakfasts.
All right, now I get to introduce Julie. I've known Julie for a number of years, actually more than we're going to count today. She owned a marketing company and she was one of my go-to people when I worked in the nonprofit world. She was always there to help and to help small businesses. She won Mentor of the Year, Volunteer of the Year, WB Advocate. She believed in giving back to the small business community, and she has continued to do that, even though she sold her marketing firm. She's now helping businesses get government contracts.
So we're going to separate now. Susan's going to monitor the chat. So please, if there's any word or phrase that we use that you're not familiar with, put it in the chat, raise your hand, let us know. We want to make sure that each and every one of you gets everything that you came today and got everything out of it. So who are the teams, who are the players in this government space? So we're going to be using these two words quite a bit. And so we want to make sure to define them: a prime contractor as well as a subcontractor. And it all goes down to who is the client. Now, a client could be a government agency such as Harris County. It could be a large construction company such as Manhattan, or it could be a corporation that's doing a lot of construction right now, HEB. So that is the end client. Then there's going to be a prime, which is the contract holder, which is the primary contact with the client. And the prime coordinates all of the various subcontractors. So what does that look like? So obviously the client, so let's say the client is Harris County Toll Road Authority, and they are building a new office space, or they're expanding. And so you've got your general contractor or your project manager, and it's typically the prime. And then you've got some subcontractors that would be involved in things such as painting and sheetrock, electrical, and HVAC. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and jump into our first section, which is financial. And we have 3 items that we're going to talk about regarding the importance of financials when you get your house in order. And those are broken down into your financial network, your financial report, and one of Susan's favorite things to talk about in the entire world, budgets. So your financial network. Well, when I started my company, I was the one who did all of my bookkeeping and accounting. And so this graphic kind of shows the financial maturity of a company, right? And you've got to start somewhere. And when I started 17 years ago with my agency, I did my bookkeeping on Wednesdays. Wednesday nights was when I did it. Well, as I got bigger and I needed to do other things and spend other time in the company, then I hired a bookkeeper. As I grew, then I also had an accountant. And then as you continue to grow, you'll get a CPA. And then possibly as you grow even larger, you might need a CFO. And so each one of these people in your financial network play different roles. A bookkeeper is someone who's going to get in all of your records and do the day-to-day bookkeeping, get the things in QuickBooks, get the things in whatever software package you use. An accountant will help you analyze the financial data, right? So they're going to be printing the reports and looking at job profitability with you and looking at what sections of your business are the most profitable. Obviously, a CPA can help you with your taxes, and your CPA should be going over your financial reports with you. Now, a CFO is going to help you with your overall strategy of your company and look at long-term growth and help you with forecasting, those types of things. Well, as a member of the East End Chamber, we have Soledad Tanner, who her business is what's called an on-demand CFO. So you can get all of those benefits of financial management, financial coaching, strategy, and even bookkeeping services, all with Soledad. So don't feel like you have to have a full-time bookkeeper or full-time CFO. So Soledad is offering a 15-minute complimentary discovery call if you email her and mention the East End Chamber session at any one of these sessions. And that's good for the entire month of June and May. So please reach out to this amazing resource that you have within the East End Chamber to help you with the financial strategy of your organization. And like the Cadence Bank gentleman said, you know, you've got to have that relationship, Solomon and David, you've got to have that relationship with a banker. Now, raise your hand either virtually or physically that you don't know who your banker is. If I asked you to put that on a form right now, you would have to go and either look on a website, right? Driving through the bank, either doing physical deposits or your deposits through your ATM is not a relationship with the banker. Well, maybe you're a little bit more tech savvy and you do your mobile deposits. Unfortunately, that doesn't count either. Now, if you do have a cell phone, you should have your banker's phone number in your cell phone. You should have that type of relationship. If you don't have a relationship with the banker, I encourage you to reach out to Solomon and David after this session, get their cell phone numbers and start that relationship. It is that critical because you need that relationship before you need something. You need to have given them your financials. You need to know how much access you have with the line of credit, and you need to get that line of credit established so when you need it, you can go use it. If you need money next Friday to make your payroll and you don't have a line of credit already, you're causing yourself a lot of stress and anxiety as a business owner that you don't need to do. You need a banker just like Cadence Bank that is going to be there when you do your physical grand opening, when you land your first contract. All righty. So why do you need that relationship? Obviously, to have that access to capital when you need it and as you grow, but also when you're going after government contracts, they're going to ask for it. Here's an example from a proposal from Dallas College. There's a snippet right there from the proposal in tab 1. You've got to provide your financial statements. The 3 years, companies' most recent and audited financial statements. Those, just like Solomon said, you're going to need to give those to Cadence Bank as well, where you're going to need to submit those with your response. So that's part A. Well, part B says that you need a letter from your banker, right? Well, if this is due in a week and you don't have a relationship with your banker, and now you've got to start that relationship, you're already behind the curveball. Also, Block Companies is a member of the East End Chamber as well, and they are actively looking for small businesses in the construction trade to help them with a bunch of different government contracts. Well, right there on their Block pre-qualification subcontractor form, they are asking for who is your bank. They want the contact person as well as their information. So multiple different ways that it is critical that you have that banking relationship. Those reports, we talked about the financials. Well, we hear so often, well, I get my financials after I do my taxes. Well, the Small Business Administration published and they did a study on the success rate of businesses in relationship to when they produce, review, and analyze their financial reports. If you're only looking at your financials annually, you have a 25 to 35% success rate. How do you know where your company is going and how well you're doing if you're only looking at your financials annually? If you look at their monthly, so that's 12 times a year versus once a year, your success rate increases exponentially to 75 to 80% because you know what to look for. And if you don't know how to read your financials, call Solomon or call Soledad, ask your CPA, ask your bookkeeper. Somebody needs to help walk you through how to read your financials. If you look at your financials weekly, from this study, it says you have a 95% success rate with your business because you're pulsing, you know what to look for, you know where to look, and you also know which report to look at to get the answers that you need to make data-driven decisions that not only impact your business, but impact your clients, your vendors, and just like Michael said, your employees, right? I'd go to Vegas on those 95% odds all day long. And when you go and you meet with your banker and you know at least how to pull your financials and how to talk to them, then they're going to know that you're a serious business person and they can go to bat for you and help you get even more access to capital. So why else, and we've talked a little bit about this, why else do you need your financials like right now? obviously a loan and a line of credit, but also for your certifications. And in this series, we actually have a session about maximizing your certifications. So if you want your company to get certified, you're going to need to produce your financials. If you're going for a prime contract, they're going to want your financials at that time as well. Also, interest rates are really low. If you're going to refinance your house as a business owner, they will ask for your business financials. When you go to get bonded, as well as when you apply for insurance, they're going to need some information that comes from your recent and current financials. So I've used those two words a lot already: financials, financial statement. What does that really mean? Well, there's 3 reports that all come together that form your financial statements. And those reports are your balance sheet, your profit and loss, which is also called an income statement, or your statement of cash flow. And we're going to go over those very, very quickly. So your balance sheet tells you about your company. It shows you what your company owes and how much your shareholders are invested, right? And so you've got your assets, your liabilities, as well as your shareholder equity. So that's the balance sheet formula. And I'm going to actually show you a balance sheet. And so it's divided into 2 different sections. You've got 3 sections. You've got your assets and your liabilities, and then down at the bottom is your shareholder equity. And if you look, your shareholder equity, your total liabilities and equities equal your assets. Everything has to balance. And you can see here that there's different things that come into your balance sheet. Your checking and your savings account, how much you owe people, right, which are your account payables, but how much people owe you, which are your accounts receivable. Your fixed assets, how many vehicles do you have? Do you have buildings? Do you have land? How much assets do you have in big yellow equipment? Those types of things. So then your liabilities, like I said, are your accounts payable. Your vendors, how much do you currently owe them on the date that you pulled this balance sheet? Also, other liabilities, any short-term debt, any payroll that's coming up, those types of things all show up on your balance sheet. So your profit and loss, or your income statement, is one of the most common reports that people go and look at. And that only tells you part of what your business is doing, right? And so it is broken up into revenue, expenses, and then profit. And what's great about the income statement is you're able to compare previous months, previous quarters, or previous years, right? And so here's an example of a common income statement P&L when you go and you send it either to a banker or to get your bonding or certification or on a proposal. So you'll have either 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years, and they'll be able to see the percentage of change. You might show it in a summary or an expanded summary or granular detail, right? Which shows all of your different revenue categories as well as all of your different expense line items there. Statement of cash flow is the last report in your financial statement package. And the purpose of the statement of cash flow is to show where your business is generating cash. So that's your inflows and your outflows, money coming in, money going out over a specific period of time. And remember, cash is king. And so when I think of the statement of cash flow, I think of it kind of like the gas gauge in your car. Are we going down or are we going up? And what I like the best about your statement of cash flow is it's broken up into 3 things: operating, investing, and financing, and then how much cash is at the end of the period. So those are the 3 things about your statement of cash flow. It's nice because it works in 3s. There's 3 reports that are part of your financials. So in summary, that's the balance sheet, the P&L, and the statement of cash flow. And Susan and I are going to do our first switch. So if you have any questions about the financial section that we just covered, go ahead and put them in the chat.
All right, my absolutely favorite part of financials is the budget. Now, I come from the nonprofit world. We lived by a budget. We did the budget, we followed the budget. If there was any variance in the budget, we had to explain the budget. I was very surprised when I was going out and do interviews with small businesses. They didn't budget. Like, well, how do you know if you've achieved your goals? And often they didn't understand where the money was coming from or going, because they weren't reading their financials. But you have to have a plan. They're like your map. So budgeting is really, planning is bringing the future into the present so that you can do something about it now. If you don't start out the year with a budget, and budgeting is a verb, so you're going to create your budget. You're going to analyze each month. You're going to adjust your budget. And then by the end of the year, you look at it and you're going to start your next budget. So the easiest way to do that is just export it from your accounting software. So this is a great opportunity for you as a business owner to really sit down and think about, okay, we're getting some feedback, so I'm not sure who's not on mute. To sit down and think about where you want your company to go. If you have some high-level managers within your company, have a conversation with them. So it's more than just the numbers. Where are you going to take the company and how are you going to get there? Look at your profitability for this year. Look at your employees, maybe do your annual reviews at this time. There's a whole piece of it. It is not a 10-minute get it done thing. It is a process that you're going to take, and it should take a while. That's why nonprofits and large corporations or government entities, they take a couple of months to get their budgets together. It shouldn't take you that long, but it is going to take you some time. So you maybe you're going to start with, how much do I want to, what's my gross profit going to be at the end of the year? I want to be $1 million company. Well, back that out. What's it going to take to get there? So when doing your budget, always start with your expenses first. Group insurance, that's a big one. Find out what your insurance is going to be for the next year. Go ahead and call your agent. You're going to call Benefit You, and you're going to say, hey, let's talk about my insurance and the portion that I'm going to cover versus the portion that the employees are going to cover. Let's see where our numbers are so that I can budget that amount for next year. If you're renting space, look at your lease. Is your rent going to go up next year? Your salaries. Always include a salary for the owner, even if it's a small company. Go ahead and make sure you pay yourself. You may have to loan the company back the money, but pay yourself. If not, you're never going to get paid. Any income, do any recurring revenue first, then determine what you need and how you're going to get there. And again, you're going to spend some time. There's some calculators, some just thinking time. What's it going to take to make that bottom number? Now, if you are doing government contracting, you need to understand what the Davis-Bacon and related acts. So basically, you have to pay your employees prevailing wages. This is government money, federal money that are on some of these contracts. Well, the federal government says you need to pay your people what the prevailing wage is. That keeps you from having an unfair advantage. That means when you're on this government contract, if you're the prime, you will have to submit a certified payroll. So find that accountant, that CFO, and help get that set up before you need it. Make sure that you're currently paying those employees the prevailing wages. And so Julie's going to drop this link in the chat. Metro is doing a webinar on the 19th on the Davis-Bacon, so that you have a better understanding. That is not my world, but this is a great place to start. And again, you may not need this now. You may not be doing government contracting next week, but you need to get an understanding of it, because when you get ready to apply to respond to an RFP, they're going to ask, and they're going to want proof. So with the block, they talk about compliance. That is one of the compliance. You have to have their certified payroll, and you have to be paying those prevailing wages. All right, so now I'm going to start the risk management section. We're going to talk about safety and bonding. Julia will come up and talk about insurance and contracts. Remember, she's over in the chat if you have any questions. All right. When you're doing either work as a prime or a sub in construction on a government site, whether it's a new building at the University of Houston, or it's the new park that's being built for the city of Houston, you have to be safe. Safety is a very, very big thing. So if you are doing, if you're looking at opportunities with Choice Partners, which is a co-op, you're going to be required to upload your safety plan. Harris Department of Education, if you're responding to their RFP, you're going to have to upload your safety plan. That's a plan, it's a manual, it's training, it's how you provide that orientation to new team members. It is not just paper though, it's every day. It's your toolbox minute, your 60-second of safety, your tailgate meeting. It's what does your EMR or your OSHA report say about your company and how safe you and your employees are. So Manhattan, I attended one of their pre-bid meetings, virtual pre-bid meetings last year, and safety was a big thing. So if you are going to be on their site, if your company is going to be on their site that day, you must attend the Manhattan Safety Minute at the beginning of the day. If you are going to be on their site, you have to have an OSHA 30 certified person on site. This is your safety that is specific to your industry, but also if there's ladders around, whether you're using a ladder or not, how are your people watching for those ladders? What personal protection equipment are they do they have to have on their person at all times? So all of this can go, and of course the drug-free and the cell phones. You're caught using a cell phone on one of these construction sites, you will be escorted off. Or if you don't have your hard hat on or your steel-toed boots. Fort Bend requires that you provide your EMR for 3 years. So you can get that from your insurance company. What workers' comp incidents have you had to report? Your safety plan should explain how a team member reports some incidents where they see unsafe behavior. So all of that. I think the largest safety plan I've seen is like 200 pages. So everything has to be covered. Your employee has to sign off that they've read it. The employee has to sign off that they were provided all of this information. Turner requires their subcontractors to have a safety plan. If your EMR numbers are low, which means you've had very few accidents, that's a great marketing tool. That's a great value add to a prime. You know, we are safe. Our numbers are low. We haven't had any incidents in the last 3 years. So here is a sample of some EMR reports. You get again, you get this from your insurance company. They can provide a letter, or they can actually provide those reports to put into your response to an RFP for a government contract. The Port Houston is providing a virtual construction safety workshop on May 19th. May 19th is a busy day, from 9 to 11:30. If you don't have a safety program in place, this is a great start. And Julie is dropping the link into the chat now. All right, risk management bonding. So if you have been doing residential work or private work, you may not have any bonding yet, but you need to go ahead and start that process if this is something that you want to do by the end of the year. It is not an overnight process by any means. There's information that you and the bonding company are going to be sharing back and forth. They have to know that you are going to be able to do the work that you are submitting the response to the RFP. In most instances, you have to provide the bonding information at the time you submit your response, or a letter from your bonding company that says, yes, they can be bonded. Any government money, state of Texas, federal, city, they want to ensure that you are going to do the work. So the state of Texas requires it. Here is the specific code. If you are just bored one day and would like to read all of that, there's the code that talks about bonding. So the three bonds, your bid bond, your performance bond, and your payment bond. Now this is a contract between you, the entity, and the bonding company. So a bid bond is a percentage of the total bid. That basically says, I will do the work at the dollar amount that I have stated in my bid. And the reason for that is there have been some companies in the past that have submitted bids and sort of lowball it. Then when it came to sign the contract, they wanted to renegotiate the pricing. So this is that guarantee that this is the price that I've said I can do the work, and I will do the work at this price. That has to be submitted when you submit your bid. A performance bond. Yes, I can do the work. I understand the scope of the work. I understand how I'm going to get paid. And I have the capacity to do the work. Now, what is the bonding company going to look for in that? They're going to look at your financials. They're going to look at that cash flow statement. Do you have the funds? Do you have the line of credit? Government contracting, you're going to get it paid at maybe 60 and 90%. And then you get the retainer after the punch list is completed. So you have to have the capacity to do that. You have to have the team that will allow you to get all the work done. If you're unable to do this, then the bonding company, the surety company, has to step in and find someone to get that work done. And then a payment bond. Not only can I do the work, that I can pay my suppliers, I can pay my subcontractors. And you may be paying them based on your contract, or maybe you have an arrangement with them, so your suppliers, that you're going to pay them when you get the final payment. Whatever arrangement you have, the bonding company knows you have the ability to pay them. So what are they going to look at? Your financials. Do you have the money coming in? Manhattan requires a subcontractor to provide a letter from a bonding company. So basically this is saying you don't have to have your bond in place. You don't have to go out and get that bond, but you have to have a letter from the bonding company that you have a relationship with that states, yes, they can be bonded for this project. So you start that relationship early. Julie is going to come in and talk about contracts.
So I think if I could go back in school again, I'm in school right now, but again, if I would do this again, I would probably be an attorney. So full disclaimer, I am not an attorney. I have friends that are attorneys. So I would like for everyone, I know you're on mute, but go ahead and just say this together. We are going to repeat after me. I will not enter into any verbal agreements. We'll say that one more time. I will not enter into any verbal agreements. A verbal agreement is not a contract, all righty? So a long time ago, there was this young girl and she was super excited that she got her first government contract and she was a subcontractor. She was so excited that she didn't ever sign a contract. She just went off of a verbal agreement. That young girl with curly hair ended up driving and meeting the prime contractor once a month to get payment after that prime contractor was bugged and bugged and bugged and bugged in an HEB parking lot. All of that could have been avoided if I would have taken the time in the beginning to have a contract. And to get the final payment for the work done took me almost 6 months to get paid and chasing, because I didn't have anything to go back to that managed the expectations. That's what a contract is. It manages the expectation. It says, what are you going to do and what are they going to do? And avoids you getting like this picture, which is into disputes or into mediation or even in a lawsuit. All of that is just horrible. I get so frustrated and so sad and disappointed when I hear stories of other small businesses that are spending all of this money on attorney's fees. Well, you know what they're spending? They're spending their profits on things that they didn't need to if they would have just taken a breath and paused and done a few things in the beginning. Now, don't get me wrong, good things happen to good people and things happen on a project. But if you can manage your risk as much as possible in the beginning, it's going to prevent you from getting into these situations. All right. And especially in the construction industry, you need an attorney who knows construction. Okay. Not a friend of a friend, or I have a cousin, or, you know, my friend whose son is going to law school. He can do that for you real cheap. He already took a construction law class. This is your business. This is your future. This is your employees' payroll. Don't take that risk. And find an attorney that is patient with you, that will take the time to explain some things with you. All righty. And when you're going through and you're getting a contract, whether that is a proposal from a government agency, a prime contract that has to use, you have to use their contract because that's going to happen, or you're setting up your own contract for your company, you need to read it and read it and read it. So you're reading at least 3 times and you're signing once. All righty. The more you do that and the more you know about the contract, whether it's your contract, which you're going to need to explain to your client, or a contract that you're signing with a government entity or a prime, when you're reviewing it, what you're doing is you are acknowledging that you have read it and you know and understand what your risks are, your expectations, how you're going to handle change orders, how you're going to get paid, and most importantly, if there is a dispute or a disagreement, how that's going to be handled. Understand all of that in the beginning when everyone is getting along. It is so much easier to ask questions and have conversations in the beginning before things get a little icky sticky, right? Every contract, every legal agreement is going to have common sections. And the first rule about subcontracting, it's kind of like Fight Club. There's no rules. right? There are no set rules. Different states have different things, different counties have some different things, but there are common sections that are going to talk about scope of work. They're going to talk about payment terms. They're going to talk about a schedule. They're going to talk about retainage. They're going to talk about default, termination, liens, and insurance. So you need to make sure that you are looking for those sections. Now, once again, I just want to close on this section about contracts. If you can't change it, right, you're not going to go to the University of Houston and say, oh, no, I want all of these changes made to my contract. Probably not going to happen. I'm going to set some realistic expectations here. If you can't change it, at least you are fully aware and knowledgeable about what you're signing and understand it. And if you can't, then reach out to an attorney who does government construction. I mean, either it specializes in the government space or the construction industry. Insurance. And I know Navarro Insurance is a chamber member, and he put his contact information in the chat. Insurance, once again, is a way to manage risks. And there's all sorts of different types of insurance, and it minimizes risk and exposure, right? So this is a certificate of liability insurance. It's also called an LOI. It is a one-page piece of paper or a one-page PDF. If someone asks you to send them your insurance information, you are not sending them your 200 or plus 500-page policy. This is what they want. They want your LOI. This is a one page that tells exactly the types of insurance that you have, as well as the coverage limits, all righty, and who the carrier is. So general liability, and these are common types of insurance that we see when you're applying to be a subcontractor with the prime, or even with the government contract as a prime. So general liability, auto, umbrella, workers' comp, professional liability, which is also known as errors and omissions, as well as cyber liability. So here's an example, and Susan talked about making the transition from residential to government. So you might already be familiar with the Texas Association of Builders contract, right? So you put in your information, and sure enough, right there, section 18 talks about all of the insurance. It talks about what the minimum limits of liability are. And you take that and you go and you talk to your insurance agent and you say, I need these types of insurance. Now, once you have your LOI and you know your insurance information, you're going to need to have it, and you're going to need to know it. Here's an example of a subcontractor registration. When you're filling out who you are, what your company's all about, it's going to ask you if you have commercial insurance. You need to be able to answer these questions when you're filling out your vendor profile. For example, HISD, here's an example of one of their proposals with all of their forms. Sure enough, Form L, insurance. They not only want a letter from your insurance agent, but they want an addition to your LOI. So we're going to close the section out for insurance. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. One of our last sections to talk about today is marketing, right? So when you've got your house in order, now you're ready to go out. But before you go out and before you do marketing, you've got to have that put together. And there is one thing in this space that is what everybody wants. And what it does is it takes together your business plan, your business model, as well as what your business focus is. It tells your story in one document. That's your capability statement. So your capability statement is the equivalent of your company's resume. So if you were going to go and apply for a job, you have your personal resume. A capability statement is your company's resume. And there's common components that help you create your capability statement that put it all together. And these puzzle pieces are going to be the navigation for the content for the rest of this section. So we've got your identity, your services, your operations, the why you. Why should a company choose you versus the guy down the street, the guy in the truck, or the guy that's been around for 20 years? And experience, right? So that's where you're going to talk about your clients and your projects. Government entities do not want a fancy brochure. They don't want pocket folders. And they do get a little upset when you say, well, just go to my website. You can learn all about me on my website. That's not how this world works. That might be how the world that you work in works. And that's been great, very successful for you, for your business up to this point. And a government agency may go and look at your website at some point in time, but for that initial interaction, they want a capability statement. So what is that? You want to make their job easy. So capability statement has these common components that we're going to cover, right? And the benefit of a capability statement is it's fairly easy to update and create. There are these common sections that the government entity, as well as the prime, is going to look for as they go through it. You're going to send it electronically as a PDF. And you can customize it by an industry or a specific service that your company is offering. Or if you're at that point where you maybe have a salesperson and you're the owner, then you could have two capability statements, one with your contact information on it and the other with your salesperson. First component is your identity. So here is Honesty's construction capability statement. And the smaller one is the before. The larger one is the after. And so we worked with Greg and his team on their capability statement. And you're going to want to, as far as company information, you need to make sure that you're including all of your contact information. How are they going to be able to get a hold of this person, right? When the contracting officer or the procurement specialist or the buyer sends your capability statement on to someone, they're not going to want to have to dig through your email and the threads to find who. They might just upload this to the server and say it's right there. So you want to make sure that you have your contact information, your certification, your DUNS number, and your cage codes all there. DUNS number, what is that? Where do I go and get it? Susan's dropping in a place to go to get your DUNS number. If you don't have a DUNS number, you've got to go get one. If they try to sell you all of their services, you don't need them. Right now, you just need a DUNS number. All righty. And that's for Dun & Bradstreet. It's a unique 9-digit code. And this is equivalent to how you have a personal credit rating that Solomon and David look at. They're also going to look at your DUNS number. And that's your company's credit rating, right? And in those. When you're putting together your capability statement, you need to make sure that you are not everything to everyone. We actually had a company send us their capability statement that said that they sold beauty supplies, fencing, and small engine repair. They were all over the place. So you've got to focus. So you've got to be able to communicate what your company does and what you do really, really well. What are the services that your company provides, and how you're going to communicate that in the government realm is you're going to list the services, right? And you want to, a quick glance on your capability statement for somebody to understand very quickly, what is it that your company does? And then you're going to want to elaborate, right? A little bit more on the services. But everything in this world is driven by codes. And there's two different types of codes here. You've got your NAICS codes and your NIGP codes. And Susan's going to drop in the chat the two different websites that you can go to determine your NAICS codes and your NIGP codes. And these are codes of things and services or products that your company currently provides. All righty. And you want to put them in order of either profit margins within your company, or maybe that's an area that you've put in your budget, product or a service that you want to grow. So you want to list it at the top. All righty. So think about those in hierarchical order when you're putting them together on your capabilities statement. And that's your NAICS code, which is your North American Industry Classification System, as well as your NIGP codes. And when you get these codes, you're also going to use them, and Susan's going to talk about that, when you're registering as a vendor on these different websites, but as well as when you get opportunities, the opportunities are coded to these different types of codes. And here's a closing example of a capability statement that focuses on a specific industry. MWA Architects is a minority-owned architectural firm that specializes in K through 12 space. So you can see on their website, K through 12, as well as higher ed, that they have the logos of the school districts and universities that they've worked in. Operations, is that still me?
Yes, keep going.
It's still me, all righty. Operations, you're gonna wanna communicate where your company operates. And especially if that's a part of your business plan, that we want to be known as the most amazing plumber in the East End, or we want to be known as the go-to architect for education in the Houston metro area, right? And so depending on where your company is and what your long-term business plan goals are, you might only have one location, you might have 3, or if you work from home, you might not have a location listed, and that's fine as well. So you need to start thinking about your location, think about your reach, as well as where your different offices are. Susan is now going to talk about the why you while I take a drink of water and manage the chat.
Oh, so why you? Why should they do business with you? I mean, there's a lot of competition out in the small business construction world. So let's talk about that. So what is your value proposition? Now, this can be on your capability statement, but often by the time you get all of this information, you don't quite have the space for that. However, you're going to be emailing out your capability statement. You need to articulate your value proposition. This time next year, well, way before that, we're going to be out and about and peopling. It's my new word for the year. We're going to peopling, and you're going to be at networking events, and you're going to be handing out your capability statement. Well, you don't just want to throw it on their table or put it in their hand. You want to articulate why you're the best at what you do. And because you want them to remember when they pick that up, when they get back to their office and say, hey, I talked to this company. I remember what they said. I'm going to pass this to the buyer. And when you follow up with your email to them, you're going to articulate it again, and then they'll have that capability statement, that value proposition all together, send it to the buyer so that there is some recognition of who you are, and it's not just one of the 50, 60 people that they spoke to that day. So here's EDI's value proposition. Now it is actually on their capability statement. So how do you come up with this? Well, what are the benefits? Okay, so the benefits you provide are not features. So we can't just go in and say we provide scaffolding. You really have to say why your scaffolding is the best. And everyone wants to talk about their customer service. Well, everyone wants to talk about their customer service. So if you're going to talk about it, back it up. First, know your competitors. Sit down, and when we're working on someone's capability statement, one of the first questions I ask them is, who are your competitors? And why are you better than those competitors? That sort of helps them articulate their value proposition without saying the competitor's company. So why should a government entity or a prime contractor use your company versus that competitor without saying the competitor's name? So you can answer these questions. So the one thing that I do that surprises people about my business, when a client is currently working with me, this is one of the things they discover. When they hire me for A, in addition, they get B, My company goes above and beyond when it comes to. So take a piece of paper and start thinking about what makes your construction company different. Now, we talked about the insurance earlier today, but you must have your insurance listed on your capability statement. They want to know upfront, do you have the insurance requirements that you're going to need to do business with me? So go ahead and put that on that capability statement, but make sure that you do have the insurance that is required and not just some random numbers on there. References. Most of the capability statements that I see do not list references. It's very important to explain who you've done business with, who's going to say great things about your company. People call these references. You have to have references when you respond to an RFP. You have to have references when you provide your online registration at a government entity's website. You have to have references when you are applying for certification. So have references. You need a minimum of 3 at all times. So block requires references. Now, you're probably thinking, well, how do I get them? First off, you ask. Make sure that you know that they want to do business with you again. Make sure that they're going to give you a good reference when that government entity calls. Make sure that you want to do business with them again. So maybe your ongoing project. And when Julie talked about a capability statement can be updated very quickly, you want these references to be fresh. You don't want a reference on your capability statement from 7 years ago. You also need to make sure that you are keeping in contact with that reference, because if they change companies, which they do, that you can change out that reference, that you can maybe add them from their new company, or hey, keep up with them. Maybe when they move to the new company, that's new opportunity for business. So you have to ask a reference if you can put them on there. Now, when you're responding to a Fort Bend RFP and you've got all of your information there, in order to get all of the points available for your reference, they have to be able to get hold of that reference. That reference needs to respond. Now, they don't have kids in Fort Bend ISD. Why is Fort Bend ISD calling them? So you let them know ahead of time, either that you're putting them on your capability statement and your marketing material or your website, that you are adding them to a specific RFP and the buyer is going to be contacting them within the days of, May 15th to May 30th. Please make sure to respond. If they don't know, they're not going to answer. How many of you, when you see a number that pops up on your phone and says, "Oh, I don't know that person," and you hit ignore? You want to make sure that they're available to take your call. What happens if they're going to be out of the country? Maybe they're going to be in Alaska, or maybe they're going to go to out of state and going to be in Alaska that week. So just know that you have to let them know. You can't just assume that they're going to take a call. All right, so now our next puzzle piece is your experience. So one of the ways that you can showcase some experience is those by the numbers section. So Strack Homes has been in business for 9 years. They've completed 8 new homes. They've done 178 remodels. And so all of this kind of gets people to know that, hey, they have the ability to do the work. They've done all of this work. Here we have Honesty Constructions. We have his about the numbers. And Greg has his capability statement available for download on his website, so that anyone who happens to be on his website can just download that right then and there. So now what? So you've got your capability statement. At least you've kind of drawn it out in your mind and you know what's going to go on it where. And you've got your financials in order. You've got your bonding in order. Well, now you have to find the opportunities. You have to do the research. Who's buying what you're selling? So we tell companies, start out with your top 5 potential clients. Most companies go, oh, I want to do government contracting. Well, can you even imagine how many government entities are out there? So you have to start out very, very strategically. Write down your top 5 and then start checking their website. Start looking at past RFPs. Spend some time understanding how their process works, what they require. Get that in order. If HISD is one of your top 5, you need to be looking every day at HISD. You need to look at those past RFPs and say, okay, I know this is the insurance requirements that I need, and get that in order. So as you're doing your research, ask, who are the buyers? Is that information available? What do those buyers buy? Who buys my services? When is the next time this is going to come out to bid? How often does it come out to bid? And why does my company want to do business with them? And to get paid and to get money is really not a good way to answer that question when you have that opportunity to sit down with a buyer. So very much like when you're sitting down for a job interview and say, why should we hire you? And I'd like to get paid and get insurance is not a good answer. So why should they do business with you? What is your why of wanting to do business with an HISD or Metro or Fort Bend? So we are going to do some link dropping like crazy now. We are going to provide you the link of several websites where you can find information in order to do this research. So first off, you want to take your top 5 and you want to go register on their website as a vendor. HCC has registration, HISD has a registration. The state of Texas is normally just the state of Texas, the CMBL, although I believe that U of H has their own diversity website, but you need to make sure that you're registered on the state of Texas on the CMBL. Central Master Bidders List. So you want to do that. I mean, and each one is slightly different, so it's going to take you a little bit to get them all done. But you need to have those top 5. And if it's a private corporation, you need to find their website in order to register for a vendor. All right. So this is Metro's buying team. You know, you can go to Metro's website and look at their buyers. It tells you what they buy. So you can go through that list and you can say, that's the person I need to talk to. And look at that. They have their phone numbers listed. You give them a call. And when you're doing this type of research, it's very important that you are patiently persistent. They're not going to answer the call the first time you call them. They're not going to respond to the first email. Remember, they are very busy people. So be patient, but be persistent. Schedule a phone call this week, an email next week. Here is Metro's procurement website. You can find all of their opportunities on this website. Julie's dropping that link now. Here is where you can register to be a vendor on the Metro website. And when we talk about maximizing certification, Monique's going to come in and talk about how you maximize the Metro. And here's your anticipated projects. Again, all readily available on their website. Here's past bid tabulations. Who's been doing business with Metro? If you're looking to subcontract, it's golden information. Houston Community College. Here's their buyers on their website. So much easier than trying to do work with an ExxonMobil. Not running down ExxonMobil, but you're not going to be able to find this information on their website. There's resources. You have your current bids. All that information, you just start clicking and going through this. Here's HCC's, this was HCC's 2020 procurement plan. You can look for the 21-22 procurement plan on their website. Here is a IFB that you can go in and look at and see what's needed. And then this is how the HCC board meets. Do a virtual board meeting with them. So listen to how they award those contracts at a board meeting. All right, so each of these opportunities may or may not have a mandatory pre-bid meeting, and they may or may not have a pre-bid meeting. Most of those are being held virtually now, although there are some face-to-face. City of Conroe did one just last week, had a face-to-face pre-bid meeting for some residential housing that they are tearing down and rebuilding for some elderly and handicapped in the city of Conroe. Client calls me, what do I do? Well, go, take your capability statement, make sure you talk to the buyers. She said people arrived late and left as soon as it was over. She made a point to go up, hand her capability statement, and talk to the buyer. When she's had questions, she's called them, they've answered. They remember her company. So at a pre-proposal conference, even if it is non-mandatory, if you're subcontracting, it is mandatory. Be there in person, find out who's playing in your sandbox. Get that sign-in sheet. So you're going to meet the small business liaison. You're going to meet the buyer. You're going to meet some of the primes. And you're going to meet their business development. You're going to meet other subs that maybe you can partner with. You'll meet all of those people at the event, and you're going to hand them your capability statement. And all of that is potential money. Woo! Did we make it? Oh, we did. All right, closing.
Few action items and next steps. Obviously, sign up for the remaining sessions 2, 3, 4, and the panel. Become a member of the East End Chamber. Complete the survey. We're going to drop that in the chat as well. And rewatch and listen to today's session. And that's going to be posted on the Chamber's website. As you're driving around town, you can go ahead and just listen to all of this great information. We've got a couple of other action items for you as well on the right-hand side of the screen. If you were putting together your action plan, our contact information is here, and I am going to turn it back over to Frances. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Susan. That was amazing. Thank you, Julie. That was really wonderful information. On behalf of the East End Chamber and everyone that's watching today, we appreciate you. But remember, this is one of 3. So if you haven't registered for the next one, make sure that you go to our website and register it for today. As I mentioned, our mission is to connect businesses and promote economic expansion and investment in the East End. So by attending sessions like this and hearing from experts like Julie and Susan, we can all thrive, especially during this environment, and succeed. I wanted to also remind everybody, if you have not put your contact information in the chat room, go ahead and do that. Before we leave today, if you click over to the right of where it says 2 in the chat area, there's 3 dots, and that will, the first item on there, it says to copy chat. That will actually automatically download to your computer, and you'll be able to have all the questions, all the answers that Susan and Julie provided, that some of our sponsors provided. Like they said, we're going to be giving you a survey. We highly recommend that you fill that out and make sure that you give us your feedback. These are just 10 top reasons why you should join the chamber. If you're not a member of the chamber, please do so. It brings credibility to your business. It increases your visibility in the community. It creates networking opportunities like this one. Memberships start at $300 for individuals, $500 for starting businesses. And your return on investment will happen quicker than you know it. By attending a seminar, a workshop series like this, 4 different sessions plus a panel discussion, you've already saved about $150 that you would have spent no matter what. So please, consider joining the chamber. We will be your voice in government. You'll make some amazing business contacts. You'll get some good customer referrals, and you'll be able to attend our chamber events and programming. So much more. Our first in-person event will not be until November, but we will be having some breakfast exchanges, some after business hours, so that we can all continue to connect. So again, without further ado, I'm just grateful to Susan and Julie, and be looking out for that survey.